Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seekers, and welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Today, I want you to meet Dr. Holly Woods. She's a purpose guide for rising visionaries. She works with people that have big visions in their lives. But I will let her tell you more about herself and what she does. Holly?
Hi, Georgian, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm delighted to be a part of this conversation. I've spent a little more than 30 years building capacity to be with my own life and other people who really have big things to bring into the world. Much of my life, I had to overcome my own fear and doubt and resistance to really living in my fullness. So I'm a doctorate in human development, and I'm an integral master coach, and quite a number of other certifications. I've been spending my whole life literally being prepared to do this work, primarily because I had to overcome my own resistance. And so in that process, I not only gained a lot of compassion for myself and for others, who are afraid to bring in their big stuff. They know we know we're here to do something really big and important. And yet all the little voices that keep us from living our fullest lives keep us either hiding or defensive or, not quite available to the work. And so I work with most of my clients primarily have really big visions for their lives and important things to bring in, not only, for themselves and their communities, but for the planet. I mean, we're all in this place of wanting to make some quite a big transformations here among human population and for the whole planet.
Wonderful. So, and the funny thing is that before the interview, we were talking about the fact that you have more experience in coaching than I have with life.
And I'm proud to say I'm middle-aged. So
yeah.
There's some real calm and wisdom that comes with being in this phase in life, and I'm delighted to have come to this place. So thank you.
And I'm sure that I will have a lot to learn from you. That's why I mentioned this. So the first thing that I'm very curious about is if you have a gratitude quote that you love, and why do you love it?
Yeah, one of the funniest quotes that I love is Willie Nelson. Believe it or not, I actually grew up in Texas, and Willie was one of my early country and western heroes. I don't listen to much of that anymore, but he was a funny character, and he said, when I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around. And it sort of describes much of my life. Had a pretty challenging childhood and early adulthood, and when I really began to do my inner work and began to see life differently, everything shifted. I began to see that everything that had occurred and was occurring, what we would call good or bad, it's all useful. And so life really began to shift. And there's another short quote on it. I don't know who the author is. It's not happy people who are thankful. It's thankful people who are happy.
Yeah.
Like that.
I love that also. And I've seen this in my life also, that when I was feeling grateful, I was thinking about the things that made me happy. And that made me happy, the fact that I focused on them, because we might find right now we might find 10 things to be grateful about, but that doesn't mean that we are happy unless we focus on them.
Yeah, I mean, our experience of life really is only dependent upon our perception of it. Life is not good or bad. We experience challenges because we have a reaction to the things that are occurring, and those things that are occurring are not limiting. It's just our limitation is really in how we perceive what goes on in our life. So we do create our reality. It's all in awareness of it.
Exactly. And this is why I believe that gratitude is very powerful, because it brings us to the part of reality that we feel grateful about, we feel happy about, that enriches us on an emotional and soul level. And but I'm wondering, what do you do when it's not that easy to be grateful, when it's hard to be grateful? Do you do something in particular?
Well, of course, and of course there's always those things every day, and we all live lives where we experience regular challenges, if not, routinely. Some of the things I've learned, I really take time to be still, both through meditation every day. I'm a big meditator, and I actually woke up with stars inside this morning, which was a very unusual experience. But it it tells me I'm reaching a level of presence and mindfulness that I think it's uncommon for me anyway. And so I really try to be present to everything in life, knowing that it's all a gift, that every experience I have is something to be grateful for. There's always something here for me in every new experience. So I'm just present and mindful. And then when it does sort of hit me, when something's especially challenging and takes me by surprise or startles or disappoints or all the emotions we can feel, I actually go straight to the place in my body and I look for where it is. Because really what I'm experiencing is a physiologic reaction to a life circumstance. And then what happens is my somatic experience, the felt sense in my body, triggers my brain to have an interpretation and say, oh, I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. I need to do something about it and push it away. And so that's what we typically do as humans. And what I've learned to do, both through my mindfulness practice, and I've been trained in somatic experiencing and a few other things, I actually go straight to the place in my body, and I breathe life force into that place, and I notice what's going on there, and notice notice what's occurring and arising, so that instead of turning my brain on and interpreting it as good or bad, or painful, or I can actually feel the sense in my body and sort of short circuit that experience. And so usually, raw emotion lasts 90 seconds. Most people aren't aware of that. And we tend to carry things around with us because we hold on and get attached to the emotion and our interpretation of it. So I've learned to become actually very grateful for the challenges that occur in my life, because it's usually a red flag about something that's going on that I need to pay attention to. So our physiologic experiences they're brilliant. They evolved for a particular reason. And so when I do have this uncomfortable experience in my body, this sensation, I pay attention. It's like, well, wonder what that's about. If I go to that place and really notice what's arising and breathe energy and life force and breath into it, I can usually derive some information, intuitively, about what my experience is and how to respond in an appropriate, in a healthy way, a functional way, as opposed to a rejecting, dissociating way. So I've actually become very grateful for this nuanced awareness that I have to what I would used to have called, and still call, uncomfortable experiences, or hard times in life.
That's
that was
wonderful.
a long answer.
Yeah, it's all right. So I'm thinking that uh, you got to a really interesting point. The fact that actually, when something that's not really positive comes up to the surface,
Mm-hmm.
when you get to solve that challenge, that problem that's actually inside of you, you get to be even more free, even more happy, generally speaking.
That's mostly what I said. I think just a little nuance there. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I would call it solving the challenge.
Okay.
So that's a very efforting way of being with it. What I really mean is that when something happens, and then I have this physiologic reaction. So I get a clenched throat, or my gut tightens, or my shoulders tense, which is my sensory way of saying, whoa, something's happening that is that's disturbing my energetic beingness. And because that's usually where things hit us first, is at the energy level.
Mm-hmm.
I notice it. I'm still enough on the inside. I notice what's going on. It's like, wow, what's going on here? And instead of solving it, which would be a mental response, to solve a problem, I go to this place, and let's just say I had my gut tightened, and or got all nervous. I have butterflies in my stomach. I go there. It's like, what's that about? I get curious. So I get curious, and I just notice what's arising in my gut, and then like I said, I breathe life force into that area. I notice its temperature or color. Usually there's an image that gets evoked. I just sort of stay with it. And when you can be still enough instead of reacting, either solving or rejecting. So those are the two things that we tend to do as humans. And I'm grateful for the experience, because I'm going to learn something new about what's going on. So I'm with it. And usually something arises that tells me what's occurring. What am I reacting to? What am I responding to? And then there's some new information about my experience that emerges from my body. So as opposed to being in my head and trying to figure it out and have a mental reaction solving a problem, I go to my body, which is always more organic because of its intuitive nature.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Very interesting. Indeed, we have a tendency to live a lot in our minds rather
Yep,
than our bodies.
we do. We are thinking creatures, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
thinking things, as Jeff Carrera says. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that our mental capacity, our massive mental capacity, our brains, um, are most limit. Are as complex beings. We are limited by our mental capacity,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is converse of what most people perceive.
Oh,
I think.
interesting.
We have these massive capacity in our brains, and they work without us thinking about it. Um, and if we learned to use them less, not more, that we would gain more organic experience in life and be more capable of responding from our true selves than how we respond from our mental capacities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what I wanted to talk with you about next is if you had some kind of experience, some kind of meaningful experience that made you into a more grateful person, because
Mm-hmm.
I think, and usually people aren't born grateful and
Mm-hmm.
aren't grateful like all the time and all their lives. And do you have some kind of experience that got you to be a more grateful person?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, I spend most of my time now being grateful, but I think you're right. I actually did come in grateful. I remember being a very happy, grateful child, um, really connected to spirit as a child. And then during my childhood, the challenges of my childhood, I think I shut down like many of us do when life gets hard. And I was rethinking last night what was the earliest experience that allowed me to bring back in a gratitude.
No Lie is brought to you by iTrust Capital. By now, you've probably heard all about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. You might even already be investing in them. But did you know you can invest in cryptocurrencies through your retirement account? With iTrust Capital, you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies from a crypto IRA and get all the same tax advantages as a traditional IRA. iTrust Capital allows you to invest in over 24 of the most popular cryptocurrencies, and unlike the stock market, you can buy and sell 24 hours a day. The iTrust Capital platform is easy to use, and it only takes a few minutes to create your account. Setting up an IRA is free, and iTrust's fees are low. It's time to start taking control of your financial future. With iTrust Capital, you can get all the tax benefits of a retirement account while investing in crypto. Visit itrustcapital.com to start investing today. That's itrustcapital.com. Taxes and conditions may apply. Fees apply. Cryptocurrencies are a speculative investment with risk of loss. iTrust Capital Inc. does not provide legal, investment, or tax advice. Consult with a qualified legal, investment, or tax professional.
For life. And I had a long distance relationship during college. I dated my high school sweetheart, and we lived in different states, and was very much in love. And after we graduated, became engaged, and then at some point I found out that my fiance was dating somebody else.
Oh,
And you can imagine how heartbroken I was, after all those years, and was very challenged. And at some point, it took a while. I would even say a few years to recover from that. I was kind of devastated, but ultimately, through a lot of work and a lot of, I think that's sort of when I went on my spiritual quest, if you want to say, my inner work. I started my inner work, deep inner work. I ultimately became extremely grateful for that event, that occurrence in my life, because I realized that we had grown apart enough that it would have been sort of it wouldn't have been a good relationship to continue. And so he saw that and I didn't, and I was attached to the relationship in probably an unhealthy way. And so I really became very grateful for the experience of that heartbreak, which opened me up to doing my work that I needed to do, to be more present to what really was happening in life and in relationship. It certainly didn't occur immediately, and I'm grateful to this day. We're still friends, and
that's wonderful.
Earliest experiences.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it usually takes a negative experience for people to get to be grateful, or to be grateful again. It's the contrast and the fact that we have two things that we can choose in that moment, to feel the pain and to always think about the experience in a negative way, or to choose to see the gifts that it brought, and to feel grateful for that experience, and also for life in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, and I would just nuance that everything in life is useful. And so I really shy away from calling things negative experiences, because I guess my own personal cosmology is that we invite these things into our lives. We attract what we need, literally every day, all day long. It's all perfect. And so how we perceive these events, these occurrences in our life, really reflects in how happy and joyful we can be. So at that time, I wasn't of that ilk. I didn't believe this was something I invited in, nor wanted or appreciated. And I think learning to be grateful for every occurrence, everything that happens in my life, allows it to have a different place in my life. And so I don't reject any part. It's all good.
Very interesting. Yeah. That's why I want to ask you, If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self about gratitude?
And I do have two daughters, so I often think about, it's the same conversation I would have with them, and they probably hear this ad nauseum. I just continue to reflect on how perfect life is. If I were to go back to my childhood and help that little girl deal with some of the challenges she had to deal with, my early years, I would tell her to be open and available to what was happening, and begin to allow life's expression to come in many different ways. There's no good or bad. And that there was something there for me to have experiences that would be useful for later in life. So, as I said, when we started this conversation, I do feel that so much of my experience has been a blessing, even if, you'd want to call it negative or challenging, because it's forced me, it's pushed me to develop capacities and ways of seeing the world that allows me to work with others, to have a happier life now, and to also work with others who are experiencing challenges and bringing their full self into fruition. So mostly I'd say, recognize that everything is there for a reason, and try to see the gift in it all, and remember it's thankful people who are happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that this is the way to a true happiness, not because many people are smiling, but that doesn't mean that that's their actual state, that they are happy. This was one of the stories that Merle shared with us, that she was called Smiley, and that everyone thought that she had like the perfect life and stuff like that, but on the inside it was a whole nother story.
Yeah, so many of us walk around kind of in a daze, not really recognizing what's going on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. And also this having these kind of challenges get people to be more have more empathy and have more compassion for others. They can feel other people much better, much easier.
Yes. If I can see that you're having a difficult experience, and also know that you're doing your best, and trying to find a way into something else, I can have huge compassion for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you do something consistently that helps you be a grateful person? Do you have an activity or a practice or something?
Yeah, and I've used a number of things over the years. As I mentioned earlier, I do meditate daily, and sometimes more than once a day. I do a longer meditation in the morning, and then during the day, depending on what's going on, if I'm needing to become more still again, I might meditate for a few minutes. I exercise every day, get in my body. I do yoga, go to the gym. I do breath work. I also do gratitude practices. Different ones, kind of depending on the time. Sometimes I'll go to bed. I'll go through a period, and I'll think of 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. 3 new things, and it's really not that hard to think of 3 new things every day that you want to be grateful for. It pushes you outside of the box of thinking just about the big things we're grateful for. I can be grateful for the rain yesterday. It rained here in Northern California, which is like yay. And I can be grateful for the songbird that was outside my window. And I can be grateful for having stars on the inside this morning. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I love to do the practice Ho'oponopono. If you know that one. It's the ancient Hawaiian practice. If I'm feeling some irritation or annoyance with somebody that I might perceive as uncomfortable or a negative experience, I know that, oh, it's triggering me. I need to have more compassion for myself and this person because we're triggering each other. And so I'll do a Ho'oponopono exercise, which is, I love you. Thank you. I love you. I can't get it right. There's several phrases that you say.
I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm I get them all in the right order. I have to look it up every time I do it. Anyway.
Here's another one, but
yeah, so I do that. I try to just keep an open mind and realize, I just sort of see the world differently now and recognize that everything was invited. I invited it all. And
wonderful.
It's kind of a big party, and what am I going to experience today?
By the way, do you want to mention a few people that you're grateful for?
Yeah, I mentioned my daughters, Lindsay and Laurel. They're 21 and 19, and they've been really my most important teachers in this lifetime. I'm grateful for their willingness to endure all that I've been attempting to share with them, and for allowing me to be different than most mothers, and for their own willingness to explore who they are and to be here on the planet in a way that's contrary to the mainstream culture. I think they've grown up to be very different human beings than most young adults. I'm grateful for my boyfriend, Chris, for allowing me to grow and continue to thrive in this challenging world in the way that I do. And for many, many friends, my dad, who's still alive. Yeah, thanks for letting me do that.
Yeah, totally. I think this is one of the most important things to be grateful about. The people in our lives that we have, and we sometimes forget to cherish. Yeah. So,
who are you grateful for, Georgian?
I can make a really long list. Yeah, so many people, and the experiences, both positive and challenging. I really do have a lot of things that I can. It will take a while, so.
Well, it's obvious that you have a lot of the same gratitude for life.
Yeah.
Conversations with people. I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. And by the way, where can people find you? Where can people see your work?
Yeah, you can find me on the web at hollywoodscoaching.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Holly Woods. And you can reach me by email at holly@hollywoodscoaching.com.
Wonderful.
Sure.
So, thank you so much for being here with us and teaching us from your life experiences, and have an amazing day.
Thank you, George, and I so appreciate your time. I've just been really grateful for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Holly.
Hey, Gratitude Seeker, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day, or maybe even their life, much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.
My name is Anthony Capizzoli. I am the host of the Dismantled Life podcast, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict after nearly 40 years of addiction. I have been clean and sober for nearly 4 years and work hard to help others find recovery. Join me each episode to learn from my sober superhero guests and how they went from the darkness of addiction into the sunlight of recovery. Dismantled Life can be found on Digitent Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.